kind of nasty. Energy of Argonaut. You get lost in that mantra. Thing about them sounds, you can go to them sounds anytime. That's up there free on every show for you to use. So for those that have never watched me, this is the Chocolate Mountain Show. I am your host. 8 Wind is Timeless. I am the spiritual holder of the infinite ball game created by the Hero Twins. I'm also the Galactic Daddy-O on the chocolate Milky Way patio from Minnesota to the universe. Welcome. Not highlighting any beer tonight. I've drank enough, so smoke them if you got them. Pop them if you got them. Smoke them if you want them. It's up to you. Several things to talk about tonight, just offhand. One problem I have with American sports, being the holder, is I hate seeing all these Africans that are taking away college scholarships to American-born players. I just caught the little bit of Baylor. Baylor, nothing but Africans. It was like 4 or 5 Africans. And that was one of the subjects I was going to talk about. See, what people don't realize, the Globetrotters took basketball around the world. But what you had David Steinberg, that was the NBA commissioner when Michael Jordan played. What he saw and what he was part of, because again, David Stein was part of the Connie Hawkins trial, where Connie Hawkins sued the NBA for barring him. So what Stern saw in the 70s was the NBA was off TV, basically. They were definitely off prime time. Games in 79, the championships with Dr. J and Magic, or Dr. J and against Magic and Kareem, they were on tape delay. You saw in the news who won while you watching the game. You already know who won. And so Stein changed that all around. But Stein knew that he needed white butts in the seats. So what they did and what people, and I even able to show you how they did this. They created the leagues over there. Stein went over there and helped create their top leagues. See, what the Ball brothers played in a few years ago was one of the bottom high school leagues. See, they don't have high school over there. The boys go straight into technically semi-pro. And so he handpicked players over the years. Dirk Nowitzki is probably the first fully person that went to the camps, then that was under this, was probably Dirk Nowitzki. It is no mistake he got to play against the Dream Team. And there was others before Dirk, but I'm saying Dirk was the first one. And again, the European players was brought here to put butts in the seats. That is why same thing was done with Luka. When they showed promise and the parents had size, they were pushing him to the front, pushing him into these top leagues. Now, if you don't think that the NBA did this and created these leagues in Europe, they were talking about Stephen Marbury on Craig Facts. And one part they missed was Marbury was the one that connected China and creating China as really under the NBA. In some ways, China is, you got the NBA, you got the G League, and you got China. Some ways, the G League and China leagues are maybe even China leagues are ahead of the G League. All done by the NBA. Marbury has what's called a red card. Impossible to most Americans. Marbury is a Chinese citizen. He has dual citizenship. So this is what was done by David Stein, a Jewish faith person, to take jobs away from the American people. We've seen this all across the board. We saw they closed the factories, creating jobs everywhere else but for Americans. So just thing I noticed. Another thing I noticed, I'm very keen to sound. I keep track of the bariatric pressure. I ran into this about a month ago. I felt a different pressure. And then all of a sudden I heard a different sound. I woke up in the middle of the night. Nothing startled me, but as I was laying there, I just heard a different, I know what I sound like, but out of just nowhere, this new sound came in. And I'm thinking, we must be bombarded with this. This must be some kind of outside source doing this. This sound, this pressure doesn't change. And so this was something that was done to us or most people while they were sleeping. There was some kind of sound added. I caught a little bit it the other day. Didn't last as long, but I caught it the other day. So those are some things just off the top of my head. Those of you that are sensitive enough, beware. I guess my first subject is American history. And I mean full American history. Let me see if I can find the proper way so you can see this. None of this shows it. None of this really shows it. Oh. Well, there's one book I forgot, but that's all right. I'll point it out, I guess, is the best I can do. Okay. So this book, Looting the Sapporo Mountains, Sapporos in Arkansas. It's considered the King Tut of America. Chakia, I think is how you say it, Chakia. What we have is the Mississippian culture. Hey, James, thank you for joining me. So in the Mississippi culture, they don't know where it came from. They don't know really who it was, other than grave robbing what they did here, what they did in St. Louis. Okay? I've been saying, hey, James, glad to see you. I've been saying for a long time, the Omen went all the way up through all the Americas. The Omic, but the Omen is the proper name, the rubber-bearing people. They had the technology. They went all up and down the coast. They went even around. Like when they try to tell you that the Vikings came over here, Omen had already went to Europe. They had already went to Europe. We already know they went to Europe. We're finding copper that comes from America during the time of the Omen. How did Europe get it? So I wanted to put that in there. So this book is about Sapporo, and this book is about the mounds there and what was found in the mounds. Let's see. Wonder if my son lost my place. Let's see. Okay. I know what this part is. Let me see. But what you see in the Mississippian culture is you're seeing some of the same things that you find in South America, specifically the Omen culture. Seems like I must have missed my place because this is. But basically, what I'm looking at, what I'm looking for, and what I had, it should be right here. But what you find is, and what I was trying to show a picture of, one thing, and this goes to the Hebrew Israelites as well. They never had a practice of flattening the heads. This is the Omen were the first to do that, and we know the Mayan did too. And if maybe this picture you can't see it, but this gentleman right here is a Mayan, and you can see his head is flattened. This is strictly South America. And that's what I had saved the place, and I must have lost the place for what I was looking at. Because this has, because what I had saved the place was a passage talking about how they flatten their heads, and that ain't there. That is not there, and that's what I saved my place for. But oh well, I have to move on. It's not on this page. I wonder if the book got knocked down or something. Maybe it's even here. Let's see. One thing that was interesting is, and this is here, is once they started, the government took over the looting of it, because that's what the museums do. But this was interesting. Both whites and Indians appear to be against the Negro. So it's the natives was against brothers digging in their mounds too, if you dig. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. But the other part I had saved talked about how the people from this culture, this Sapporo culture, also flattened their heads. And so when this is the lie they tell you about the Mississippian culture. One book I forgot to bring was Dr. Winter's book. And Dr. Winter's book shows a man wearing the helmet of the Omen from the Mississippian culture. And again, this is very much, you see this, see the ear spools? The ear spools for your ears. That was done by the Omen. That was done by the Mayan. Again, if we look here, no, we're not that close. Right here, he's wearing the ear spews. So this was one culture that went all up and down. The Aztec probably more, but the Aztec was probably knew about this culture, and they later moved into the area, much hundreds of years later. But we have several cultures that you see the same kind of things being done. You have 8-wind, you have 8-wind flint eagle, you have 8-wind, you have 8-deer jaguar claw. Both of these people lived. One lived about the 1200s, or one lived about the 6th century, or he, both flourished. Trying to think, somewhere in here they have the dates, but both flourished about the 500-600 year, maybe 800-900 years, where Sapporo is around 1200 years. But so we see the culture pushed on. We see the same culture pushed on all throughout the Americans. And books like these just cement it. Now, later in this book, he tries to say, well, they can't be Mayans. Well, that's the European thought. But that's not what the evidence says. The evidence says it's the same. Hey, Nicole B. The evidence says it's part of the same larger culture where they moved out of the Yucatan and they moved up. I think the Oman moved even before. I think the Mayan were later to come into the Americas. I think the Oman moved on beforehand. And we know the Oman were excellent boat people, because if you look at the areas they come from, it's nothing but lakes and channels there. So they were excellent boat people. And so they definitely came up through the Mississippi and helped the Mississippi culture, came through the Eastern front, and probably started societies in the Eastern, wooden Easterns, and all the way into Europe and back. And books like this one helps. There's other ones I'm going to get about the Mississippi culture, but the thing that they don't even like talking about, though, that the bounding of the heads, they can't deny. And just as I do a lot of work talking about the Oman, they have Oman crypts. You ain't never heard them talking about, let's do a DNA of the Oman crypts, which DNA, some of that stuff is shaky anyway. But this is a great book. It just reinforces that the Oman came through. The Mississippian culture was nothing but a continuation of what was done in Mexico. So that's my first point I wanted to bring up. The next point I want to bring up is pickleball, which is my passion right now. So, and just kind of people that want to start, let me tell you, I'm 6 foot. I walk around weighing about 250, between 250, 255. That's normal. Since playing pickleball in July, I am now 230 pounds. Now, again, in the last 3 weeks, we've played outside in the cold. Last 3 weeks, I played maybe twice a week. Now, with the snow coming and wetter, we'll see. I'm going to start playing indoors. But I just want to give people that are thinking about it, because it's a skill. Age doesn't seem to matter. Men and women can compete high level against each other. It's really an interesting thing. I played against one dude that was 80 some years old. He couldn't really move around the court. He had one of the hardest serves I'd ever faced. He could consistently make a hard serve. I still can't really serve hard. So this isn't really the balls they play in. I like these balls better. Colder weather, we're seeing that the X40 balls, they're a little lighter orangish, like, break a lot. These balls are heavier. They're more forgiving, but they don't really like playing with these. These would be probably a fall ball. So please forgive me for not I've broken all my other balls. This is more of an indoor ball. And if you look at the difference in the indoor balls is the indoor balls have bigger holes. See the difference? I haven't even used these. Again, this brand, a lot of people, the Penn brand, a lot of people seem to be down on. Now, my introduction was last summer, seeing pickleball existed. And I found a kit, and this isn't the paddle, but I found a kit for $20 in Michigan when I was visiting my brother. I bought for my daughter, and so my daughter and I could play. So this, the original racket by Franklin, This racket, now the original racket and the two balls cost me $40. Two rackets, two balls, $40. Well, I found out that my original racket wasn't that great, the better competition I played in. So I bought this racket for $30. The other Franklin rackets are broken here. This one actually did pretty good, but what happens with these cheap rackets, if you play a lot, they get dead spots. And you get a lot of hits off these, but dead spots, where it'll hit the ball and won't play. And that's the problem. I mean, even more expensive rackets, once you play thousands of games, but dead spots. Hard to compete against people that can really play. So I moved up to this racket. That other racket was $30. This racket cost me $90. You can even find it cheaper on eBay. This racket was around $90. Great defensive racket. Doesn't help with the best serves. You can put a lot of English, but again, not as many dead spots. But one thing I don't like is you don't get the extra play here. So if you hit it here, it's going to hit that or hit your hand. But if this is all you can afford, you really can go a long way with this racket. You really can. Any of this there's more. This is the 5. This is called the what is it called? Z5, I guess. The Z5. You can see other ones from this. Now, as you get more serious, you can move up to something like this. Lighter. I love that it can play down here. Lighter, much lighter, better serves, better English on the ball. It's taking me a little bit defensively because it's lighter. I'm used to the bulkier racket. Again, if you look at the comparison of the two, you see this is a much bulkier racket. Much bulkier. Heavier. This racket is heavier. You don't get the play down here near your hands. But defensively, you cover a lot of area defensively. I just bought this racket. Now, this racket cost me $130. I saw it on eBay for $110. But really, you can do a lot of damage with this racket. Lighter, really, really. Just like any racket game, tennis elbow is a consideration. I sprained my wrist, so I bought these wrist guards. But really becoming my passion and my goal next year, I'm going to play all winter, but my goal next year is to play my age group to play pro. I really think I can. The opportunity, what's really cool about it is you can get ranked. They have an app, and the amount of games you play, you can get ranked in a national system. There was a national tournament here last year. I just started playing in July. But next year, even if I don't play pro, I am going to be playing in top tournaments just because I am going to play starting in May every day. From May until September, October, I'm going to play every day. I'm going to start playing indoors as well. So just wanted to share that. That is one of my passions. So I wanted to share that part. All right. Move on. Next topic. This is Tibetan Book of the Dead. Great study of what to expect when the silver cord is cut. Great study of that. And I'm just going to read a little bit, not trying to be too boring, but there's a part called Training and Consciousness Transfer. transference is what it's called. But what it is really, what are you really looking at is how to keep your consciousness when you go beyond. Now, this is not an easy thing, and it's not naturally given. I mean, even if you live a good life, you can move on, but can you move on taking memory? Dan Winters, if you want to study some of Dan Winters stuff, he talks about this. Transferring consciousness into when you pass and not losing everything. That's the problem with dying and being reborn, is you lose everything. Very few can, and that's the thing, is like, why would you keep wanting to be in that recycle? So consciousness transference. First, with regard to training, just for example, when a man faces the inevitability of the arrival of the external foe, before his enemy approaches, he will prepare armor, weapons, arrows, and so when the enemy comes, you're prepared. So in this context, the training takes place before the indications of death has arisen. Since one does not know when one will die, training should be undertaken from the present moment. Now, training and consciousness transference may be undertaken in two ways. At times when general guidance on primary practices is being given, or specific guidance on consciousness transfer is being given, whichever was appropriate. As found in preliminary practices of the general guidance, one should reflect upon the difficulty of obtaining a human form endowed with freedoms, opportunities, conducive to practice. One should reflect on the suffering of the cyclic existence and develop an attitude with disillusional psychoexistence and desirous reunification. Furthermore, even though one has obtained the above freedom opportunities, which are difficult to obtain, one should always, from the depths of one's heart, remember death, which is never far away. Death is a way. Hey, Edward. So the body should be upright and erect. The hands should cover the knees, forming the earth-touching gesture. The shoulders should be drawn forward. Then in one's own heart, one should visualize and analyze a blue symbol hum, blazing with light, from which a single syllable hum breaks away and descends to the rectum, which precisely blocking the orifices through the hells are entered. Now, I've talked a little bit about that through the Tsar work. The Tsar talks about that. I talk about the Tsar, where when you die, you want to help most people come out this way. But what they're telling you is you have to block your nose, you have to block your mouth, you have to block your ears, you have to block your penis or vagina, and you have to block your butt. Because again, you do not want to come out that way. You want to blow out the crown. And so another hum breaks away and descends to the orifice of the procreation, thereby blocking the entrance to the realm of the angry spirit. Similarly, another symbol breaks away and blocks the entrance to the world of animals, which is the urethra. While yet another symbol hum moves to the navel and others to the mouth, to the nostrils, eyes, ears, each can blocking its respective. So you're protecting it from anything coming in there, again, to blow out the top. Then on the crown of the head, one should visualize that the crown fontanelle is blocked by a downward-facing white syllable, ham. Further, one should visualize with central channel in the middle of the body, straight and erect, with a yellowish white luster, like a torrid air-filled sheep, intensive with its lower extremities extending below the navel, with its upper extremity extending to the crown fontanelle. At the lower extremity below the navel, at a focal point where the three main channels coverage, one should visualize a brilliant white semi-point, which is the essence of awareness and radiant and clear breathing, rhythmically, continuously pulsating on the verge of ascending. In this space above the crown of the head, one should visualize, I don't know if this is necessary, but you can say the Virga. You can visualize the Virga. One's body weight should be drawn and concentrated upwards, and the rectum forcibly closed. The eyes should be turned upwards and the tongue lifted to rest along the upper palate. Hands firmly placed in the first gesture, with the thumbs pressing down on the base of the fourth fingers. They're saying this. From below the navel, semi-point is moved forcefully upwards, and through the engagement of speech, it is elevated with support of the guttural gas pronounced ha, ka, hi, ka. Through the force of the vital energy below. The seminal point is unable to resist being accelerated upwards through the central channel. By this method is move upwards with 7 high cut gaps to the navel. Then with a further 7 high cut gaps, it reaches the heart. And with a further 7, it reaches the throat. And with a further 7, it reaches the space between the eyebrows. Then uttering high ka final time, the semi-point connects with the syllable ham to the crown fontanelle, after which one should visualize it spin downward again and comes to rest below the navel at the white diffusion. By simply repeating this exercise a few times, sign will emerge that consciousness transference has taken place. So this is a way to plan for death and to plan what to do after death. So, and I bought this for discount books. What was this book they charged? I hate I didn't buy a bunch of them because I only paid $2-3. Maybe I gave my son one. Okay, this book says $30. I think I paid $2-3, and they were all hardcovers. So that's just something to prepare for. Okay, I went through some of this. This was interesting. I heard a person say, all the angels are gone. There's only devils. Now that kind of goes into what Dr. Valentine talked about being a prison planet. Goes in a little bit of that. While the time, did you see the message I sent you a few hours ago? Maybe not. Maybe not. I got your last couple videos, so maybe I missed it. So I'm sorry. I'll look at it. I just decided to do that. But yeah, all the angels are gone. There's only devils. Well, it's not quite true because through this kind of book kind of teaches you how to still call out some of the angels. And it's the same thing I've said, they've copied the South American system because what you have is you have day gods. Now, what this book does is it turns around and just uses all the same gods. It lists about 7 gods. Ariel, Raphael, Gabriel, Cassiel, Ezekiel, Samuel, Michael. So it's only like 6, 7, and they just re-go. Now, the given god of a day, he'll repeat more than he'll show up almost 4 times compared to some of the other gods. But so there's a god of every given day, which is a copy of the same thing that we see in this system. It's the exact same thing, except this system just goes into 4s. Now, they do give you gods every hour. This system, the way they do it, the Mayan did it and the Oman did it, is that god of the day is over all the hours. And then there's a night god. So they split it between a day god and a night god. So, and while I'm on it, let me show you something. And I've talked about this before. If you are into channeling or you're into, you feel you have to call one of these goods or gods, witches tell you need this shit. That you need to circle and you need to bind. You don't need this circle. I've talked about for years, this circle, you can get trapped in one of these circles. You can get trapped in this circle and be living on that circle. You turn miniature and be living on the circle. To communicate with guides and ancestors, you don't need a circle. Now, of course, they try to tell you to bring up, to bring up demons, that you got to bind the demon. I think my brother, if you look at him, you'll see that he's talked time and time again that what we really see is they've demonized a lot of the American ancestors. But you don't need the circle to call on to your ancestors. Now, again, even demons don't need to be bound. This is the thing that the Europeans learned to try to control them at first, because they was calling ancestors up that really wasn't natural to them. So the ancestors, when they was first calling them up, was like not wanting to deal with these people. So they found a way to control them. And this is why you see the binding. But when we called up, we didn't have to do as such. Like I listened to a cat, one of my Facebook friends has a channel, and this cat said he brought up Bael. And he said he had to tell Bael that he agreed to just get out of some trouble. He said he was facing prison and he agreed with Bael. He said that for exchange of getting out of trouble, he would become a dark magician and practice dark magic. Now, what does that really mean? Do you have to take the dark side just because, again, he made an agreement? and some would even see that as selling their soul. Because he said he said it really quickly. He's like, well, I'm trying. He was like, the next day he was all out of trouble. And he says, Baal is the one that got him out of trouble. So now he's trying to pay. And when I talk about damn Yankees, I talk about what Lola wants, Lola gets. This is the price. The price of fame is really hell. So him coming under that is no different than selling his soul. If you can understand. I mean, he's taking a different way to sell his soul, to sell his energy signature. There was probably other means. He didn't have to go that dark way. And it's not all doom and gloom dark, but it is a dark way. I wanted to bring that up. Next thing I want to talk about, which is interesting. Now, I was born in 1961. I'm still a baby boomer. Baby boomers were from 46 to 64. My brother is not. He's whatever came next. He was born in 66. So, but I'm a baby boomer, and it's interesting. One of my friends, Jennifer, talks about the age wars. Now, maybe cats relate to me because most people listen to me are younger people. And I remember hearing other people say that it was the baby boomers that sold out. But what people have to keep in mind is how the baby boomers were used. The baby boomers that really sold out and became agents during the civil rights eras was young people. These was high school people. These people were recruited out of high school in most instances. Stokely Carmichael is a prime example of that. He was recruited right out of high school to start working for the government and being an informant. Farmer that just died, that got beat up on the bridge, same with him, recruited as a young man. And so a lot of people want to blame, and there was a lot of Tommen. It wasn't, the boomers wasn't all in the nation or all Black Panthers. There was a bunch of Tommen, Uncle Tommen boomers that sold out, that wanted integration. There was nothing wrong with segregation. What did Wallace say? Segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. There was nothing wrong with segregation. If you looked at the way the towns were set up and the successfulness of the towns, and as I've said before, when the Industrial Revolution hit the North and the people were forced off the farms by brutality, they were building these factories in the hoods. I've talked about this before. My hometown of Kalamazoo, Michigan had 5 supplier factories and 1 full Checker Motors was a full car factory. Most of the Black folks around the country, they put you on the north side. You can look at the same thing in Gary, Indiana. Oh, okay, so you got your rich. Okay. Well, yeah, I tried to give it to you when I had my computer on that time and not StreamYard. So I bring that up as they look at who was attacked. If you look at who the government attacked after they gave these jobs away, after they allowed these factories to move out, who was attacked? The baby boomers were attacked. And they clearly replaced the jobs with crack. Most of the jobs dried up in the late 70s to early 80s. That's when the crack came in. So that's what was replaced. And then under President Biden, locked the son of a bitches up. Under Clinton, the crime bill. That was the start of the breakup of the families. along with the welfare system. I mean, civil rights and welfare. Welfare was for women. Well, you know, the Panthers started WIC. What is WIC called? Women and Children. Welfare were for women. And there are a lot of Europeans in the South, you know, that had welfare, but welfare was women and children. Well, thank you, Key. It's been a while. So we were the first really generation that was attacked in a lot of ways too. Because what crack did to my generation, the imprisonment, the addiction. I mean, you have people 3-4 years older than me that graduated in the mid 70s. And by the mid 80s, late 80s, early 90s, these people was already like mentally dead. They were so addictive. So there was an attack on my generation as well. Taking away the jobs, flooding, you know, we know. And it's funny, I was watching a CIA person that was on one of the Talking Heads show, and he said they didn't supply crack. That's a lie. They did supply it. Yeah, our own government. He's like, we didn't. He made a joke out of it. Yes, they did. We know they did. Heroin too, though. Heroin too. And as I said before, you know, in the 60s, we had functional heroin addicts. Functional heroin addicts. Now, I knew several functional crackheads that they smoked crack when they was off work. I knew one dude that was a functional drunk. This dude had to be at work at 5. He drank till 3. So a lot of times he came to work, he was still drunk. But for what we did, he worked for me. He was able to do the job to a point. You know, I had too many people complaining because this guy would literally drink all night until about an hour or two before he had to go to work. Then he'd quit and wouldn't drink all day. But as soon as he got home, and this brother's not with us anymore. Well, of course. I mean, the way they were set up, police is nothing but a local army. That's all the police are. The police are there to protect property. If you look at any of their charters, they're there to protect city property or whatever jurisdiction they're under. They're there to protect property. They're not really there to protect you. The Supreme Court said that they're not there to protect you. And you notice with the unrest going on tonight, the Supreme Court are not there to protect you. Supreme Court passed laws that said basically that the police are not there to protect you. Okay, I'll check him out. So I guess I'm getting back to the point as we are getting, you know, baby boomers are getting blamed by some of the younger people that don't tell the whole story. They are not telling the whole story because baby boomers were the first one attacked by the government. In some instances, baby boomers got in these companies for 10, 15 years, and then the jobs was taken away. Where people that was before them, the great generation, was able to retire. Like my stepfather. My stepfather got in 33 years at General Motors. He had to leave the plant he started at and move to another plant. My father worked for the city. I think he got 29 years in. So some instances, these people were able to work many years and then retire. I haven't worked anywhere in where I felt I could get 30 years in. Now, one place where I worked, I think my brother works other than when I work by myself. I'll say that. Working by myself, I was able to ref for 25 years by myself. I was able to play semi-pro basketball 25 years by myself. So these were things I enjoyed doing. But keep this in mind when you hear all this age and who sold out. Keep this in mind that the baby boomers were attacked by the government, definitely, as a generation. Now the attack on the others through animation is some way, some of it, the brainwashing that the cartoons. But even my generation of the violence of Tom and Jerry, the violence of the Three Stooges, slapstick. Now, I've said this before. When I was in 2nd grade, they took Tom and Jerry off and they took the Three Stooges off because the parents said it was too violent. That these things were too violent. Look at some original Tom and Jerry's with the mammy in them. They go at it. Feel like a slave, but I do work. Drive home, shower, sleep, and drive to work again. Modern day slavery. Oh, yeah. Days where I worked 16 hours a day, that's all you could do is go home and go to sleep. That's all life was, is go home, go to sleep. One of my police jobs when I was a cop on the road, I worked an hour and 15, 20 minutes away from where I lived. So I had to drive an hour and 20 minutes. Then I had to turn around, work 12 hours, and then turn around and drive an hour and 20 minutes home. And I've told the story many times of me falling asleep driving there because I'd make a mistake. I'd eat dinner and then go drive and fall asleep driving. Luckily, I never got in a crash. But yeah. And it seems like it is a type of slavery. It's funny. They don't say it in the movie, but in the Malcolm X movie, but in his book, Malcolm, maybe when he first moves to Philadelphia, I think is where Philadelphia, I think is where his sister lived. One of the first jobs he got was being a Pullman porter, working on the trains. But the guy who helped him get the job, and maybe it's the Shorty character, I don't quite remember, but one thing he said was, get you a slave. So in the 20s and 30s, they called jobs getting you a slave. That's what he told him. You got to get you a slave. And I thought this was very odd rap when we're less than 100 years out of what was called slavery. So, but yeah, it's we're peasants, basically. We're peasants. If you look at, like even now, the generation gap is so wide. But keep this in mind, when Ford gave everybody $25 a week, which was basically $5 a day, on $5 a day, $25 a week, $100 a month, you could still buy a house, get a house mortgage, cars, you could still starting to buy cars. You could raise a family where your wife didn't have to work on $5 a day. Back in the 20s when he first put this together. Made the other companies have to start paying more, the other car companies, because they were paying less. They was pissed at him. And Ford was one of the first to bring brothers up from the South. Was like, I don't care. You want to work? Come on in here. So. Some of this I kind of... some of this stuff I kind of went over. So I'll just say, try to stay away from blaming the baby boomers for everything, because that's not really correct. Now, there's a lot of sellouts, as I said, but there's a lot of people like me that we can relate to anybody. So keep that in mind. I know this one girl has 7 children, so she doesn't have to work, getting ridiculous benefits at home. Yeah. It's the system is set up for women. I mean, even though, like when John Engler called the Great Experiment, they was making people go to daily training, and they was supplying the computers, and they made you go to class. And now you want to hear real slavery, and I've mentioned this several times in the past, and this is most states. I know it's in this state, but this is in most states. Most states, if you get welfare cash or you get food stamps, especially cash assistance, they can technically make you work somewhere you don't get a check. It's in the bylaws that they technically, if you get cash assistance, they can stick you into a factory and you will not get a check. You only get what you're getting from the state. You will not get a check, but you'll be working, I don't know how many hours. Now that is real slavery, but that's allowed in most states. Most states that have these welfare programs where you got to look for jobs on their computers have it in their paperwork that they can send you to a factory and you won't get paid, but you got to work with the hope that the factory will hire you. With the hope that the factory will hire you. I have to correct myself. I found something. Now, I said in the past that Pittsburgh had a shooting gallery where you could go shoot heroin in it, and they had the Narcon to bring you back. That is wrong. I saw it reported, but what happened is Obama sent his people in there to stop it. Apparently, the one opened up in New York a couple weeks ago. And not only can you shoot heroin in this place, you can smoke crack safely in the place too. Now, a lot of people don't OD on crack, but I think this is opened up, and I don't know if it's a good idea or not. Uh, Again, America has always been one of the biggest pushers of heroin. Heroin has never went away. Even during the crack times, heroin was still there. You still had people on heroin. Just because people did crack doesn't mean heroin went away, because it didn't. I pushed heroin too at times. Easier dealing people. You ain't people knocking on your door. You see them once a day, and you won't see them for a day or two, depending on how much they get. But it never went away. And now, since Afghanistan, it is the optimal what they want people on. And again, they made the crystal meth. I mean, it's interesting if you study history. Crystal meth was invented by the Germans, and the Germans gave their troops crystal meth. And that's why at the beginning of the war, they was fighting their ass off. But they found out after a year of being on crystal meth, they had to keep being on it. But crystal meth is that old. Crystal meth was made in the 40s. Crystal meth is older than acid. LSD, crystal meth is older. So, but yeah, Obama took down the shooting galleries. So, and I want to bring up the new Matrix movie is coming out, I believe, this weekend or next weekend. And you've always got to put Dark City when you talk about the Matrix. One interesting thing about the Matrix is, so you had the seer, that there was the sister that smoked the cigarettes, and then you had the carpenter, like the one that invented it. So you kind of had the man-woman thing. Remember, at the end of the Matrix, it was the little girl took both positions. And what the little girl was telling you was androgynous took over. Androgynous person took over. That's kind of what they put in there. Androgynous person took over. So the little girl, Seti, I think was her name, that brought the sun back, she took over both positions. Well, you still had the female seer, but you had two women there, which was interesting. That was kind of an interesting slip of that in. And so, yeah, the new Matrix come on, next weekend. Next weekend it comes out. Now, something I ran into, and I hate I didn't tape it to kind of show this, but like I showed a thing of Tom Brady playing multi-characters. Matter of fact, it's two people in our government that look like Tom Brady. The person, if you look at my community, I showed that guy, and I think that guy's in a wheelchair or something. But it's another old dude that's the same character. It's an old dude, looks like the older them. It's like now the one in the Congress is the younger looking dude. Tom Brady is the middle, and then there's an older looking dude. So I've got to find a picture of him. But I bring that up is I found another Sammy Davis Jr. I saw Sammy Davis Jr. in another body. And I didn't pay enough attention to what he was pushing, but this dude was enough where they put him on TV, and it was like, it blew me away. Now, he didn't look just like Sammy. He was a little dude, different nationality, but it was Sammy Davis Jr. And so we see this with these actors that have sold their souls or sold their energy signatures when they are reincarnated, and you see them again and again and again. Actresses more than probably any. You see actresses playing parts over part over part over part. And so pay attention to that, because that's out there. I'm gonna break it up a little bit. We had 17 inches of snow, so I'm gonna have a little fun. I love clothes, and so I'm gonna have a little fun with clothes for a second, and I'll get back to some other things. They all do Marilyn Monroe energy. Hey, see over the technician, what's happening? Yeah, they all do Marilyn Monroe. Well, we know Anna Nicole Smith was definitely a reflection of Marilyn. Um, but you're seeing the same types over and over and over again. Because if we go back to Jean Harlow was one of, like I say, that Rudolph Valentino was a sacrifice for the silent movies. Jean Harlow was a sacrifice for the blondes. She was the first um, blonde bombshell was Jean Harlow. Jean Harlow's mother wouldn't let her have surgery that would have saved her life. But Jean Harlow is another one that you see over and over again. Hey, Trill, what's happening? So let me just have some fun. Now, we had 17 inches of snow, so we got serious winter. And Spiritless Marilyn Monroe, I don't know. I would almost say Spears might be what is her name? The country singer. After midnight, we're going something. After midnight, she died. She was in a plane that hit a mountain. She got Patsy Cline. I see that energy more than Britney Spears. That Patsy Cline energy. Ain't that some cold shit? Patsy Cline was in a plane that ran into a mountain. That's a good wonder. Trapiska Music Group. That is a good wonder. Madonna pretends to be her too. Yeah, Madonna kind of went through that phase. You see a lot of them taking that image to try to propel themselves because they saw the image works. Look at Divine Sade YouTube channel. She does great breakdown celebs playing multiple roles. That's a good point. Demarius Thomas, he might have, but again, he's a sacrifice for the coming season. For those of you that don't watch Zach Thomas, or Zach Hubbard, excuse me, his guy Rambo did a great breakdown of Poseidon. And you know what you have to realize is that the Virga was created before their trident, because the Virga is basically the trident energy. I mean, if you look closely on this, you can see these leaves are really type of trident flames, but this is a trident as well. Maybe it's a little easier to see it on the single, but this is a trident as well, that trident or lightning energy, they call it. But he broke it. But one thing, remember about Poseidon is over dolphins, and Poseidon is also over horses. So Thomas was a Poseidon ritual. So that's what Thomas, because again, Thomas played for the Broncos. So you see when they need the blood. So Rambo did a great breakdown of that. So, yeah. So, as I said, we got 17 inches of snow. You have to have the proper equipment for the winter. Now, these are 3 or 4 years old. These are a type of duck boot, waterproof, not terribly warm. Waterproof, yes, not terribly warm. Tread is great. I think on my other shoe, this part fell off, but not warm, not going to keep your feet warm, but keep your feet dry. Now, this bad boy here is a piece of art. This is actually considered a combat boot. As you see, it has the eyelet to the concords. If you know anything about Jordans, the Jordan 10s or 11s have these kind of eyelets. And so what you have, and then you have Zoom Air, and I forget what this is called, but you have the Zoom Air, extremely comfortable, extremely warm, and waterproof, but they look like Jordans, which is interesting. So you can be in deep snow. This is waterproof up here, won't get your feet wet. Most comfortable. Now, these Uggs, I had these last year. I told the story about these. I ordered a pair of shoes from Journeys. They were $60. It was basically a pair of duck boots. They sent me these $200 Uggs. I didn't order these. They sent them to me. All leather. All this is leather. This is real fur. Kind of dressy, but supremely warm. Fight the elements supremely. Can't really go wrong in something like this. Will keep you warm. Not the greatest comfort for walking around the mall. Really don't want to walk in the mall in these. Not terribly comfortable. And of course, you want to look at, for those of you that like Timbs, these Timbs, warm inside, waterproof. I don't like the wheat Timbs because once you scratch any of this up, the boots are not forgiving. And I talk all about how my feet aren't that great. I don't know if this is my newest pair, but I get these made. A pair of these is like almost $800. You have the plastic cup, and I have to have these lifts in them as well. These boots keep your feet warm. Your feet don't get wet. Do the job, and they don't look bad. The next thing I want to consider, let me see if I can do this evenly, is coats. Now, this is a cashmere dress coat. Kind of out of favor now, like leather's not really in favor, but you want to dress, this is something to consider. I got this coat, and all these coats are come from Macy's. And I got that coat right after the stuff ended. This $200 coat, I think, cost me $30. This is something you really don't see anymore. Velour. This is Velour. Again, I got this. This was like a $200 coat, $40. But what people wear today and what is popular is the light stuff. Light coats. Coats that aren't as bulky, but keep you just as warm. This is a Calvin Klein, but extremely warm. Minus, it'll do a decent job. It'll do a decent job. I would say zero, these coats are okay. Anything above zero, kind of iffy. This one is I think this is a North Face. No, this is a Columbia. And this is, those of you remember the moon, the moon landing shit. This kind of shiny stuff was popular. Remember they was giving the people in the caves, this kind of stuff. But this one, again, extremely warm, lightweight. This is kind of what the style is. This one, below zero. This can deal below zero. Bomber jacket, the fake leather, the fake whatever. Bomber jacket. I think this is also a Calvin Klein, but this is the deal with that below stuff. So you have kind of alternatives depending on your personal style. These kind of coats, you can kind of dress up in them as well. It's just your personal style and comfort. But these, you're seeing these everywhere, these lighter coats that people are wearing. Hats is kind of up in the air. A lot of times it's cold, I wear a baseball hat. You can wear the toboggans. It's kind of up in the air. Last kind of thing I'll go into is gloves. Now, even with the new technology, these are Timberland gloves. Even with the new technology, these are just as warm as the leather gloves. And there's nothing to these, but these will handle the zeros. These will handle the zeros. I didn't bring my mittens. My mittens are probably the warmest, but this is the leather thinsulate, how they was trying to make leather lighter. But the thing with leather, they won't get wet. Takes extremely amount of moisture to get leather wet. These handle the same moisture. Remember before when you had fabric kind of gloves, that you had the cotton little fabric gloves, the knitted little gloves that get wet. Well, the new stuff don't. This stuff don't get wet. So Just kind of wanted to share that with everybody because we need it up here. But what's funny is today was perfect. Wednesday's supposed to be in the 40s and rain. So, and I want to say this: did anybody? Let me see. God of War and Great Vengeance taught me all about Greek mythology. Did you order them shoes? No, they had them at Marshall's. I got them. I got now the Uggs I ordered. The Uggs got all black ones. That's probably what I want to order next when because they closed my local journey, so I might have to go to the Mall of America. But I want to order the all black ones too. But the one Jordans, they had them at Marshall's. Like I looked on eBay, and most eBay had them like 120, 130. I think I got them for $80, maybe 90 bucks. So the boots are perfect for me. Yeah. Oh yeah. Jordan 11s. Thank you, Nicole. Yeah. They got the eyelets of the Jordan 11s when I tried them on too. Cause these other, like my one boots, when I put the insoles on, they're cool to walk around in. But the Uggs, I had to put the insoles in the Uggs or they ain't cool to walk around in. They hurt your feet or my feet hurt. But yeah, that's a lot. I mean, you're in and out too. Like if you go to the Mall of America, they got lockers where you can just lock your stuff up. A lot of times when I park in the garage at the Mall of America, I'll wear something like this, and I'll leave my coat in the car because most places where you park in the Mall of America, you can run into the mall. You ain't outside that far. If you go on the parking ramp, once you get there's doors, and once you're in the doors, you technically are in heat, and then there's like 2 doors you got to go through to get in the actual mall. But there's an outside door where you're inside, and then of course to walk into the mall. So yeah, so just clothes. I love clothes. Clothes is one of my passions too. Just I like dressing and stuff, wearing hats, buying hats. So just some things to consider. I just think that's fun. That's all. I just think that's fun. Let me say this too. Beware, and I've talked about this many times, beware of spells, especially parroting spells. Because again, saying at the end of the day is a parroting spell. The first time I saw somebody say it was in 2011 was Cat Williams. Now I always tease Super Slide because I think in the last 3 years, he's the one that really pushed it on these YouTube streets. I really think him saying it caught on even through the sports talk. I think, but it's like it makes no sense. I mean, people will be talking about something completely and then they throw that in there. But notice the one that Biden put in there. Biden put in there, this is the thing or that thing. That seems to be the new spell, that thing or this is the thing. Biden was the one that pushes in, and you hear all the talking heads using this. So be aware of not parroting how everyone else speaks. My husband, just a Calvin Klein jacket at Marshall's for $50. My son bought a Tommy for that. My son bought a Tommy. Yeah. I saw a nice Tommy bubble like coat with a hood for like $70-$80 that was in Marshall's. So yeah, I go to Marshall's like every day. Marshall's has some unique stuff sometimes because they get their stuff from Macy's. They get their stuff from 2 places, Target's and Macy's. And so that's why they get the shoes, because some Macy's have Foot Lockers inside of them. I don't know if, like the Macy's at the Mall of America has a Foot Locker inside of it. So a lot of times you see Marshall's getting those shoes. So, but yeah, you can get good deals. Winter clothes don't have to be expensive. As I was saying, I think all these coats together, I mean, these 2 dressier coats, again, I bought them right after the lockdown. When Macy's opened back up, it was spring. So they was getting rid of this winter stuff. And both those coats were way over $200. And so these other 2, the Columbia, I bought that last year, so I don't remember, but it was less than $100. And even Even the Calvin Klein was less than 100. Was less than 100 because and even the bomber jacket, I got it. It was like 50% off from Macy's. It was 50% off, and I had like some extra money from buying shit. So it's a cheap way, and not cheap, but quality clothes. Most designer clothes are quality clothes. If you look them over, they're quality clothes. It's not just the name. You're looking at the way it's made. Like, look at something that you can get this name brand compared to looking at the same thing that you get. Like, look at a pair of jeans, like a Wrangler pair of jeans compared to a pair of Levi's. The Levi's are a better product. You can get the Wranglers for $20. Most Levi's cost $50 on up. But if you look at the difference in the material, the Levi is a better made material. We just came back from Chicago and it held up well. Oh, yeah, it will. But my son got his from Tommy's, and I think my son got his Tommy's from Marshall's. I think he spent 40 on his. And it was originally, I think, 50, and he got it. It was like on sale, maybe last season, because sometimes they got some stuff to be like a previous season and stuff. So yeah. So it's for children. For children, a great way to buy clothes for children. I can't tell you how many Christmas gifts I done bought from there. I'm almost done with my shopping. And so I bought a bunch of Christmas gifts from there for my children. I got 7 people to buy from, plus my mother. So it's a great way to get shirts. They like, my one son likes the anime. I found a bunch of anime. And so, yeah. But it's like this, like those lighter jackets. And when I went to my daughter's game last week, everybody had that style of jacket, which kind of made me laugh. I was like, I hate I wore mine because it was kind of silly. And so, but just beware of that. Beware of parroting spells and not trying to push the parroting spells. Be cognizant of not repeating what others say. Make an effort in not repeating what others say. Have your own thoughts. Have your own speech patterns. So I caught something right here that I thought was kind of funny. And again, this is some old shit people might not remember. But there's a song called He's a Rebel. He's a rebel and something simple. He's a rebel. But these is melanated girls in the 50s, no, in the early 60s, saying he's a rebel. I just thought that was so funny. This is like early civil rights and stuff. But here you have these 3 melanated girls talking about he's a rebel. And you know who wrote that. Like, just go out and sing that shit. Like, nobody said, well, wait a minute, wasn't the South called rebels? I just found that so funny. So if you want to hear the song, it's on YouTube. But it's He's a Rebel. I just thought that was so funny. This next subject I'm going to get into. And I think in some ways, Zach Hubbard has listened to a little bit of my work and he kind of understands. But one thing I'll say about the Jesuits, and I'll say this. The Jesuits are the one army that's against everybody. They are the Jewish faith people's army that is against everybody all at once. Now, we know 2 other dictators that did that lost, Napoleon and Hitler. And even they had allies. The Jesuits have fake allies. They are really against everybody. I'll say that. But this is the Jewish faith people's army. And it ain't every Jewish faith person. But I'm saying the Jewish faith people that do control the world, this is their army. And they're against everybody. This is the one army that is against everybody, to understand it. Hey, Conspiracy University. Marshalls and TJ Maxx are my spots for the family. Now, I'll say this. TJ Maxx here have changed, and the stuff isn't as nice as it used to be here. Before they changed in size, because the same companies own them. Macy's, the people own Macy's. Macy's owns all that stuff too. They own Marshalls and TJ Maxx. But they up here when they changed it around, I don't know. The stuff doesn't seem they don't seem to have as much. I'll say that. But yeah. So the Jesuits are against everybody. So that's the interesting thing to know about them. This is the one army that is against everybody. They look at everybody as their enemy. And so it's good that you know that, because you already know that the Jesuits are an enemy. But remember, they're not the brains, they're the muscle. The Jesuits are the muscle. They're the CIA and the army of the true faith people that run the world. So wanted to get that in there. Now, the recent thing about going into space is what they call space ain't nothing but what a plane to do. What you saw Michael Strahan do in the heavenly penis that flies up in the air, they ain't doing nothing but what you do when you go on a plane. Oh, Mr. Westside, what's happening? I'm sorry I missed you. ACWE, what's happening? Oh yeah, the Vikings definitely. If you look at and I'll get back to my point, but if you look at the Vikings' first Super Bowl, because remember what Super Bowl 3 and 4 did. You had the Jets win 3. Yeah, it went Packers, Jets. Yeah, Packers, Jets. Right? Packers won the first 2, Jets won the Super Bowl 3, Chiefs won Super Bowl 4. But if you look at like Otis Taylor's play against where Otis Taylor has a guy one-on-one and the guy fake misses Otis Taylor. Like he comes up to tackle Otis Taylor and he misses him, and Otis Taylor runs a touchdown. So the first Super Bowl 3, Super Bowl 4 was for people to accept the AFC. I mean, Joe Namath was one of the really worst quarterbacks ever. He has the record for the most pick sixes. This dude ain't played in 50 years, but yet he still has the record for throwing the most pick sixes. So this is a guy that's only in the Hall of Fame because of that one game. But it was for people to accept the AFC. Because matter of fact, I won't even say AFC or AFL teams won, because what they did is when the Baltimore Colts was originally in the NFL, when they merged the leagues, they put the Baltimore Colts in the AFC conference. So they played against AFC teams. And so technically an AFC team won Super Bowl 5 because Baltimore Colts won Super Bowl 5. So won Super Bowl 4 over the Vikings, yeah. And so obviously both games scripted. I mean, they don't start Super Bowl 3. They don't start Johnny Unitas. Morrow, what was his name? Morrow, that was the backup quarterback to Johnny Unitas. Johnny Orr. Yeah, Johnny Orr is in the end zone, would have tied the game, or actually I think they'd taken the lead on a flea flicker play. And instead of throwing the Orr, Johnny Orr, instead of throwing the Orr all in the end zone by himself, Morrow throws an interception. He had a guy in the end zone running by himself, and he throws the interception instead. So, yeah, we see it. But, yeah, so this fake space stuff ain't nothing. It's what you can do in an airplane. That's all it is you can do it in an airplane. Yeah. NFC's 128, AFC's 127. Okay, there you go. So remember that when you see this stuff about space, the ancestors didn't need machines. They didn't need machines. You think a god needs a machine to move through space-time? The best example is Q. If those of you that watch Star Trek, The Next Generation, and the being Q is probably one of the strongest characters that's ever been developed on television, to showing you what a god can do and how a god moves. Because remember the show of Q, where Q gets stripped of his powers and he has to live like them. Q could set up alternate realities. He could put the Star Trek people in an alternate reality. He was a true god, true Gould, true Og. So, but it's fake. That it's what you can do. Yeah. And I know this is a little old, but Nick Cannon just practiced blood libel. We saw Nick Cannon practicing blood libel. So we can't be surprised by that. Again, whatever Lola wants, Lola gets. They want that blood. So keep that in mind, that this was, again, ritual. And I'm going to say this. No matter how bad things become, remember what runs this reality. I mean, one thing that the biblical books tell you that you've got to kind of take creeds. When we bring names out here, my brother and I bring names out here. I mean, there's something to these names. These names ain't talked about. I'm just looking it up so I say it right. Yeah, here it is. One name you got to really understand is the name Yaldabaoth. You got to understand that name, Yaldabaoth. Now, Yaldabaoth is described as, did anybody see that picture they put in the UN of the lion's head with wings? That's what Yaldabaoth is described as. He's described as a lion-faced beast. So what you see, the new creature in the UN, is a representation of Yaldabaoth. And the story of Yaldabaoth goes into the divine Sophia, and Sophia creating something outside of herself and hid it from the rest of the gods. And so she put this being by himself, but yet this being could still see earth. And so this being could still see earth. And he's greater than them, because here he is in his own realm manifesting. He look at these earthlings, they can't manifest. So the other guys looking at Sophia's reading like something's wrong. We know something's wrong. And then there's this beast is released. This beast is released on the earth. 156. See if I can find this description, because one of the descriptions, maybe this is it. And I've read this before, but it says, all the angels and demons worked together until they fashioned the physical body. For a long time, their creation did not stir or move. When the mother wanted to take back the power she would relinquish to the first ruler, she prayed the most merciful mother of all with a sacred command. The mother father sent luminaries down to the place of the angels, the first ruler. They advised him that they might recover the mother's power. They said to Yaldabaoth, breathe some of your spirit into, this ain't it. Yeah, this is not the part, but it talks about, and I'll have to find it for the next time, but it talks about him being a beast. And I mentioned that because if you look at the horrors of the world, only a beast would allow this. We do not have the gods that people believe in are not passionate and loving gods. As I said on Sly's show last year, a year before, demons can do good work, just like angels can do dirty work. Demons can do good work. Again, whatever Lola wants, Lola gets. Damn Yankees, bedazzled. But believe, believe. But remember, angels can do bad work. They ain't on just one side. So I say that if you look at low points, remember, you can't be surprised by these low points, because the way this reality works, there's a beast that runs it. So none of this low stuff you should be surprised of, because of what puts this reality together. So, do you believe in the vision board manifestation? The vision board manifestation. I don't believe in anything. You should know that by now, Ryan, but I don't know what that is. You'd have to explain that. I'll look that up, but I don't know what that is. Vision board. But if that's saying that to manifest, you have to vision what you want to manifest, sometimes it takes a little more than that. It's like winning the lottery. There is so much work you have to do to win something like that. And that's an illusion out there, like, makes the donkey keep walking in circles. You put the carrot out there. And that's what people who gamble do. They're like the donkey with the carrot. You see the carrot, so you follow the carrot around. Same kind of deal. So I just keep that in mind when you see all this terrible stuff. Is terrible for reasons. Now, I was looking at something else here that might even do today. Like one vaccination I did get is I got the shingle shot. And this is what I don't understand about the shingle shot commercial. Is it says that if you had chicken pox, the virus is already inside of you. Well, even though I had chicken pox, I think I still got the chicken pox vaccination after I had it. Maybe not, but I had one of them, mumps, because I thought I had the mumps, measles. I thought I had both of them too. And I'm just wondering, like the people that got vaccinated against this stuff, could they be more likely to get shingles? Because shingles is nothing nice. There's people that I know that have died from shingles because it's a type of nerve pain. It paralyzed one of my aunt's face. She got it in her face and it paralyzed that part of her face. But it just makes me wonder, like how does this stay in you? How would it stay in you? Now, I know when I was younger, people would purposely give their children, like if one of the family had chicken pox, they would take all the young children over there so they'd all have it at the same time. That they would have chicken pox party. I mean, this is a real thing. Vision board is another way of motivating yourself to achieve your goals. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought you meant. Yeah, that's what I thought you meant. So I just wonder if that's what's going on today. So that's just a consideration. It's funny. Had a good meditation today, and I was a little slow in reacting, but again, angels tend to move through plasma. Dan Winters talks about that. Every time I visit about an angel, I get plasma blasted. The first time was like nothing I'd ever experienced. It was like just I'm meditating, all of a sudden it's just I completely am covered with just plasma. I mean, it's just like all my awareness was just, it hit my awareness so hard, and it was so bright. Again, eyes closed, blindfold, and it was like the sun exploded. But it was my first example of an angel coming in, and the angel came in through the plasma again. So the next time that happened to me, I remember the plasma came in, and I was sitting there like, okay, so angel's coming through. Today, it caught me off guard. It caught me a little off guard today, because again, what you should have and what you'll see is you have a light right here and right there. And then what you really end up doing is your third eye or first eye turns right here. And so you actually have like three lights that can kind of guide you. And so the plasma blast came like right here. It wasn't a plasma blast like in front. It was a plasma blast from back here. And so I really didn't pay much attention to it. I saw it, but I was like, I didn't pay much attention to it. And then as I was moving through a hallway, I saw this little ugly dude sitting there. And I was like, where you come from, little ugly dude? And he's like, why I got to be ugly? And then I was like, oh, you come from the plasma blast. And so it was an angel and had a little conversation with it. But he was like, why you call me ugly? I was like, little ugly dude, where you come from? But it was another angel came through today, which kind of surprised me, because even though I saw the plasma blast, I was still quite surprised when I saw the little ugly dude sitting there. Then it hit me. I'm like, you ain't a normal, because a lot of times the ancestors come in and out. This dude was just chilling. So I'm like, you an angel. Okay. So it's kind of interesting today. I wanted to mention that. Snowstorms is another great way to meditate too. During blizzards, a lot of energy is moving. Hey, Lorenzo, thanks for joining. Hey, Nate Robinson, what's happening? So I wanted to mention that. Another thing I talk about all the time, and this kind of goes into going into space, and I've said this many, many times. At one point, trees were up into the sky. One time, trees, you could, if you was coming into the planet, you would see the trees going up into the sky. These trees are all gone. This goes back into my thing about this reality. We don't see old trees, very few places. And I keep hammering and hammering. Look around you. Tell me what you see. Tell me how many 300-400-year-old trees you see. Now, did they kill everything? But I live where it's a lot of land. I still do not see 100-year-old trees. Nothing like that. But trees used to reach up into the sky. I love telling silly stories. This is my silly story. So keep in mind, I'm from Michigan. And so in high school, we wore gaiters, we wore Florshams, and we wore Stacy Adams. So that's wingtips too, but a lot of time the Florsham wingtips. I know them country niggas when I went down south was like, them insurance man shoes. It's like, no, nigga, these is Florshams. Them country niggas in the Greensboro wasn't used to seeing motherfucker dressed up wearing wingtips. It was just, they didn't even wear gaiters. They didn't wear Stacy's. I mean, they wore nothing like that. I just learned that Shaq became a Freemason in 11. Now, I've been saw that Shaq was a Freemason. You know what, too? I think Shaq owns Pennies. Pennies is a lot better. Pennies is a lot better than it used to be. But I think Shaq owns Pennies now, too. But getting back to my story. So I remember, again, when we went out, we wore the gaiters, we wore the Florshams, or we wore the Stacy's. And we had galoshes. Now, I don't know if people know what galoshes is, but a galosh can be a whole boot, but it's more than likely it just goes over the shoe. So imagine you go into a party in a clubhouse or whatever, a teenager party, but when you go in, you see all these galoshes lined up. So all the dudes who dressed up not to mess up their gaiters, Stacy's, or Florshams would wear galoshes. And I remember one time, it wasn't wet. It was cold, but not wet. So my friend and I just wore our Stacy's, the patent leather Stacy's. The dude we rolled with, we was leaving the party, and he got stuck on ice. And my friend and I, now, Stacy's ain't made for gripping. And so here we are with these shoes that are slippery on the bottom, and we're trying to push this dude out of ice. And he kept getting mad at us, like, push. Like, damn, man, we got these shoes on, and we ain't really trying to get him dirty. But it was a hell of a time trying to push that car out of ice. And again, it was cold. It wasn't wet. It was just cold, frozen. But I remember the galoshes story was funny, going into the little teen spots, little clubs, and seeing the people who wore galoshes. I'll never forget that. The men had all their galoshes lined up. So I always thought that was kind of funny. So I wanted to give that little story up. And I don't know if anybody caught Saturday Night Live last night. They was doing a thing about, the Jesus birth and all that. They was doing a nativity scene. And they wanted the shepherds. And she said, do the pimp walk. So I guess pimp ain't a bad as word is what they said. I hate I didn't do a video about that because she kept saying it over and over again. Pimp walk. And she was like, show it how you pimp walk. It was kind of funny. I thought it was clever. I thought that was very clever on Saturday Night Live. And how long have I been going? Okay, I'm not going to go too much longer. See my voice. I'm not used to doing this. And I'll say this, it's not that I don't like teaching and I don't like sharing information, but just the love of this, talking is not, I don't have as much passion as I used to. Please forgive me on that. It's a time where I didn't mind doing shows every night. Now it's like I'm resting and sleepy, and so maybe I'll get out of this, but right now I just like, this is my first show in about 2 weeks. So it's nothing against anyone, but it's just, I just really, the passion for teaching. The passion for teaching is kind of, I don't have that great passion anymore. Maybe it'll come back. So it's nothing against anyone. I really don't mind sharing, but there's so many mouths out there that, I just don't feel like what I got to say is really necessary, I guess is my point. But I'll say this. I thank the people that have encouraged me to speak. James Lee is one of them. Mr. Lamborghini is another one. So the people that gave me inspiration, thank you. I do appreciate that. So thank you. Thank you. But it's just, again, what else can I say? It's like, it's so much out there, so much saturation, and so many people using people, so many people trying to use this spiritual knowledge for gain. I show the corruption of sports again because I feel truly that the Hero Twins picked me, and that my life studying of this is something I can show. It's not going to change anything. It changes little things. It's not going to change it overall, but it does change little things. Like, one thing I used to be on is some of the commentators throwing signs and shit. A lot of them don't do that anymore. They'll throw one sign and then they'll stop. Like, before they took my channel down, I had Reggie Miller, where Reggie Miller threw 7 or 8 signs. I mean, he was like, when they being a menace, when they was making fun of signs, he threw that many signs. He just kept doing it. Now you just see most of them, and then they'll. But so it's little victories we get like that. But and I don't feel that my message is special or anything like that. I know where my awareness is. I do this stuff to help me. This is like my passion. Like, when I read this Tibetan Book of the Dead, this Virga, I don't just wear this stuff. I practice with this stuff. I mean, this is just not something I'm just doing for show. It's like, to give you an example of really, like, when I meditate, like, I do wear medals. And so the first thing I do, and one thing that's beautiful, and I've said this before about wearing silver, is when you wear silver, I guess the only silver is this little part. But when you wear any type of silver, and I guess this little top right here is silver, and this little part is silver. When you wear silver, silver is one of the metals that can take the other metals and minerals to the quantum level. Silver can take those metals to the quantum level. And like with me, for instance, I ask it to take the gold, I ask it to take the diamonds, and I ask it to take this piece of motivite. And take these things down to the quantum level and remind them that I give these life. And I don't mean that I give them life as I created them. I give them life by letting them experience life by me wearing them. And I wear them because I love them. I chose them for me because I have love for them. And so I hope that by me choosing them, when I call on them like this, they would decide to work for my higher good. Because my higher good is definitely, they benefited from it as well. The better things go for me, the least likely I'm going to be in a pinch and have to sell them. And so I just say this, when you meditate, like, you do have to have a couple of things clear. It's like, first of all, you don't need a circle. You can get this selenite. Again, selenite can protect you against that sleep paralysis. Again, the biggest thing to remember, sleep paralysis, the thing that's giving you the scares is this big. It is just the littlest, tiny littlest thing. And once you look at it like that, even when you come into it and you're like, motherfucker, you just a little tiny motherfucker. What am I scared of you for? But my point is if you wear metal, some people can't meditate and wear metal. I've never been like that. But I ask these things to work for me in my meditations. Now remember, diamonds amplify. Like I've said before, you get in an argument with somebody and you wearing diamonds, you better go wash them off, because a diamond will hold negative energy. Something like pneumite, selenite, these things will never hold negative energy. Neither will shugite. Shugite won't hold negative energy either. But diamonds will. Diamonds will hold negative energy. And so you wear diamonds, you get in it with somebody. And I don't mean, fighting, shooting, but I'm just saying an argument, especially most of the time if you have diamonds, if you just with your loved one and you both are wearing diamonds, you've got double amplification. Her diamonds are going to amplify, your diamonds are going to amplify, and it will hold that negative energy. So if you both don't wash off your diamonds, one of you are going to be holding negative energy that can be unleashed against one of the other. So, hey, Nepturial Queen, your lives help me through these night shifts. Okay, well, that's cool. I've been missing you. It's been so much that I want to talk to you about on your show. Well, okay. Well, maybe that I can come back a few more times. Heard of Solomonati or spirituals. So Salmonati. I just saw that term the other day. I did, and I don't remember why, but I just sold Manati. I did see that the other day. Nevertheless, I'm glad you gave clarity. You didn't have to. I thought you just got another strike. No, it wasn't that. I got a strike, only one strike, and I think it's went off. They're running commercials on my shit, and I've never made any agreement because I don't care. I mean, I looked at how they treated me last time. You pay me, and on the day you pay me, you strike you take off my channel without any strikes, without even their procedure. Their procedure is you get 3 strikes. I didn't get any of that. I just had in the middle of my stream taken off, no explanations. And it was like 3 or 4 days after Biden was president, so I knew that it was a new sheriff in town. But so now, why would I want to do business with this company? Why would I want to do business with this company when you treated me like that? I don't see any motivation to do any business with them. But yet I noticed that they've been running commercials on my stuff. And I have not applied. I didn't do it. If you see commercials on my sports stuff, I didn't do none of that. And like these videos on my other channel, they never would put commercials on my lives. It was only my sports stuff. Maybe they did, maybe. I don't remember, but but yeah, no, it was no strikes or nothing like that. Just, motivated to do it. That's all. And I'm a Cancer, and sometimes cancers like going into their shells, and that's probably part of it too. Kind of going into my shell of things. My brother's channel, Thought, the Prophet of Thought, something like that. Look on my channel to get his stuff. Oh, I did look on my community. I just shared one of his videos. He's putting out powerful stuff. He's putting out very powerful stuff. So, lot of. I try to. Like even somebody said that they couldn't listen to my man DeMarco, but his stuff. I mean, you got to listen to it because he does put some stuff out there. So I know it takes a little bit, but he does put some stuff out there. When you cut a man's tongue and you ain't proving him a liar, you're only showing the world what you fear, what he has to say. Thank you, and that's why I appreciated Sly. Sly was like, hey, this is his new stuff. Because I think, Sly, like his other channel, Sly don't even use his main channel anymore that has the most subscribers. He uses his backup channel because, again, that's what they try to do. They try to build you up and then just swipe your stuff. So far as doing business with them, I haven't done it. I was looking at some of my stuff today. I'm like, where does commercial come from? I never agreed for that because I will not do business with them. So, but that's, yeah. And that a lot of people came to this channel because it's like, well, he must saying something. And so at times I do come up with some clever things that people haven't thought about. But I feel that a lot has been said, but there are other things. But like I said, in closing, like Yabatha, remember that name. Remember that if that's one of the creators, that's a beast. Again, it's in front of, I think, the UN. Is that where they put that thing? That is Yabatha. Remember that. That is what you are seeing. It's just like they try to remember Shiva is also a destroyer. And they put Shiva's wife, the one that avenged him, in front of CERN. Because, again, she's a storm as well. So, you know, they're not using the positive aspects. Now, that's the cool thing about most of the Indians. They show the positive aspects of Shiva. You see those big, beautiful statues, they show that aspect of it. Because remember, he's the giver and the destroyer. But Yabatha is a name to remember. I mean, we see the name over and over again. Horus, Marduk, it's all the same name. Yahweh, same being. Jealous being, there's no God but I. It's the same being. But the Demerge is another name. I think Jeffrey would always bring up the Demerge. That's another name that they're relating to Yabatha. You know, Marduk. I call it Marduk because that's Marduk. It appears like Yabatha is still running around here. Now, some of the renderings of Alexander the Great, he talks about seeing Marduk buried in Babylon. There's some writings that say that he did see Marduk's grave, where just like, you know, when the vampires took turns to go to sleep, that's all. Marduk was just going to sleep. But you can find some of the Alexander the Great's writings that talk about when he went into Babylon, he went to see Marduk. And then you see Augustus supposedly doing the same thing to Alexander the Great. And actually, Augustus supposedly broke the nose off of Alexander the Great. I don't know if anybody's ever ran into those writings. But supposedly, Augustus, Caesar's step-nephew that got to be the Caesar, broke off Alexander the Great's nose. And then apparently they can't find Alexander the Great. So I'm just a history lover. Yeah. So I guess as I end most of the time, I give everybody a little bit of the Time Walker papers. And it says Mora. And Mora is kind of the way that the civilization would builders that would give good energy. So Mora, it all starts with a gentle sadness. They came from their original homeland. They knew that they had exact number of years and days before they would disappear off the earth as a culture and a lifestyle. The civilization would build to a gentle love. They lived in the Creator's day and knew how to separate cycles in the great serpent. I am another yourself. And I'm going to say this. Now, if this world was real, as I said before, months ago, I called Zach Hubbard giddy. Lord Jamar had bought his book and he showed it, and Zach, I said he was giddy. The next day, I'm watching some shit on Fox, and don't you know they use that word? So now, you know, I always close. I always say until we meet again. Now I'm seeing it everywhere. It used to be a dude that used to be on a Chicago channel out of WGN. He used to read little short stories on his channel. And this was TV back in probably the late 60s, early to 70s. And that's where I get that from. He would always end his readings till we meet again. Now I'm seeing it. So if this system was real, I would never see that. But that shows you it's real. But yeah, it was his nose. Yep. You can get Augustus' book, and they talk about that. It's interesting. Like Augustus he was one of the oldest Caesars. He lived to be 70 years old. And his second wife, I think it was, who he never had any natural children with. I don't even think he had natural children. I think he married a woman with children, and the stepchildren became Caesars. Matter of fact, during Augustus' life, 2 stepchildren got killed in wars. And so that's why you saw a lot of these other people. But I don't think Augustus, like Julius Caesar, didn't have any natural children, but Caesarion. They murdered Caesarion. He actually lived to be a young man. A lot of the time they try to say they got killed. He was 4 or 5. Actually, you can find where it appears Caesarion lived to be about 18, 19. He was Julius Caesar's only true son, so that's why they murdered him. Augustus was like a great nephew or almost a great step nephew. But most of the Caesars, you know, these cats didn't live long lives. Hope all is good. Well, thank you, Strong Discernment. That's very kind to say. But it's just, you catch this thing and you see, and it just makes you wonder how this thing ain't artificial. Because there's too many ways pointing to you that this thing can't be. there's too many coincidences. Like I'm like me to repeat. And this is almost like a creation, just illusionary world for that word to pop up. It's like that world popped up. Now, if you look at me saying giddy, is there somebody out there working that wants to pick any new phrasing up and by within 24 hours put that on the show? So is there somebody that's just, oh, a new word came up, how can you get this in and get that to the talking head that said it, and then the talking head be able to fit it in? If this thing was for real, that'd be impossible to do. But yet she didn't miss a beat when she said it. So do you see, how could it be real? Is that what it is? There's like words that they look for, and they just got a sheet, and the person looks it over before the news program and says, well, hey, that's a new word, I got to get this in. No, it doesn't work like that. This is a machine. And this ain't what it seems. I mean, this thing ain't what it seems. I mean, they want you to think that flying in a plane is going into space. Remember, the shuttle was really just a plane. And it is flying around whatever. Space shit ain't. Space is the sea. That's the deep. Is the sea. Not that shit they talking about going up. Well, I guess this is it. Thank you, everybody. And maybe I'll put it out there that I'll come and try to come a couple more times before Christmas. Oh, one thing I've said, again, you see how time is sped up? And I'll close with this. I've said this for the last 2-3 years. Once Halloween hits, time is accelerated, because one thing why they need all these holidays leading up to the new year, the true goal is to fool everybody into the new year. That's why all these holidays are this type of year, because they need us to believe in that a new year is coming. They need us to believe we have another birthday and getting older. So this is one of the strongest spells they put out there. And this is why time is accelerated, because this time of year after Halloween, they accelerate time because they don't want you to think like this. They don't want you to think about it. They want you to just think of all this joy and holiday that you're pushing in. You're agreeing that it's a new year. What if everybody said, fuck you, I'm using the Mayan calendar? What if we did that? Even in business, you started putting out the Mayan time that goes back 1,000,000 years. Not this shit that was manipulated. Not this shit that took off 20, well, more than that if you go in Mayan time, but from the original calendar, 20, they just like said, fuck these 20 years, you don't need those. We're going to start right here. Fuck 20 years, we're just going to start right here. So wait a minute, how you replay the 20 years? Hey, Marco, what happened to the 20 years? Time Walking Papers talks about this a little bit. They're just like, fuck it, we're going to replay it. So can you imagine that? Going back to 2016, motherfucker, just the government come in and say, look, fuck y'all, it's 2016 again, and we're going to count up from 2016. That's basically what the calendar we did. The year on the other calendar is like 5 something. If you go on the original calendar the Europeans use, it's a 5 over it. It ain't no 2000. It's up to 5 something. But the closest they were, the dates was like 16, something like 16 years. They just said, fuck the 16 years. So can you imagine that? It's like, fuck them 16 years. We're going to start from right here. That's kind of how they done. And they can do that again. But this is why these holidays are like they are. This is the push for the holidays. Is they need us. They need you to believe in 10, 9, 8. They need your energy. This is the greatest vampirism time that they ever do on us. Because they need you, they need us to agree on this new year. That's why they want you to party like it's 1999, because if you don't believe in it, everybody's just like, fuck you. No, this shit ain't changed. I mean, we know in recent history, a man lived to be 200 and something. There was a man born in Columbus times. This motherfucker was born in 1490 something. And this motherfucker lived into the 1930s. He lived into the 1930s, born around Columbus time. They found another monk last week, week before. Went in a cave. They thought it was a mummy. They thought this cat was a mummy. And then somebody said, wait a minute, this mummy breathing, his heart beating. I've told that story many times, how they put these motherfuckers in caves. And every once in a while, they give them some rice and they give them some water and they seal the cave back up. They just found the dude last week, week before. If you looked at it, it looked like a mummy. But no, it was a live dude. Dude was 200 years old. I think that's what it said. He was 200 years old, still alive. Been living in a cave, ain't ate shit, ain't drank shit, just living in that cave. Still alive. 200 years old, still alive. So it shows you ain't like people living around the equator don't have to eat. The sun will actually feed you. So the parasitic way we eat things, it's not necessarily. But it's smugs, and it's like the story of the Nazis. The Nazis went up to arrest these monks, and all these monks got to chanting and shit, and they disappeared. Nazis go up in there, Nazis pissed. Dudes ain't up in there. All of them raised themselves to a higher vibration. Nazis left and cleared out, they came right back. You can find that. Look it up. But look at the dude. You can find this dude. Look like a mummy, live dude. So we ain't got to be parasites like they tell us. We can eat healthy. It's hard. Real hard. You got cities attacking your water system. It's like most people, spitting shit. Most people don't drink the water come out your tap, but they brush their teeth with it. They take showers with it. Now tell me, what sense does it make to drink water out of a plastic bottle, but you still showering in the water? Now, of course, the people that use have the water softeners, and those of you, if you don't have water softeners, just get a type of soap with salt in it. Get a type of soap with some type of salt in it. You'll get the same kind of feeling that soft water makes you feel. But people won't drink the tap water, but you take a shower and brush your teeth with it. What sense does that make? I mean, your biggest organ is your skin. So not just shit you drink. It's like, this is an organ too. So, and it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. Hey, Liquid Fire, what's happening? It's kind of funny that people do that. I think that's funny. Because my son, I was like, you don't look at that? You brush your teeth with this shit. Yeah, but I don't drink it. When you brush your teeth, you drink it. You just took your big ass in that shower. People don't think about it. You still dealing with this water. And that's what people don't realize about Flint. It wasn't the drinking that was making people sick. It was they were still showering in it. And that's what was harming the children. They were still giving children the baths, sitting children in this shit for hours. And that's how a lot of the children were getting sick and getting the metal contamination. It wasn't from drinking it. It was actually from bathing and showering in it. And these people are going to have, long-term problems. Benton Harbor, Michigan is another city, went through the same thing. Now, let me tell you how dirty they are. Minneapolis is called the Twin Cities. You got St. Paul, older side, more east. You got Minneapolis, slightly west. The city's about 10 miles apart, if that. But Benton Harbor, you got St. Joe and Benton Harbor. You can see each other. Benton Harbor don't have any water problems, but Benton Harbor is the richer Europeans. St. Joe is where the Europeans live. Benton Harbor, when Westinghouse pulled out, took away a lot of them jobs. And they did Benton Harbor what they did to all the other cities. Brought in crack. Took away jobs, brought in crack. Started arresting people, breaking up homes, taking men out the houses. St. Joe never had any of them problems. So you've got two towns, and these towns ain't 10 miles apart. These towns are 2-3 miles apart. How's the water good over here? How was this side able to maintain the pipes? This side wasn't. So you see it's an attack. And Zach Hubbard did some work talking about Three the Hard Way. Remember in Three the Hard Way with Jim Kelly, Jim Brown, Fred Williamson? It was a water attack. The weirdos was going to poison a black town and poison the waterway. Well, we see that play out in real time. So when people talk about Flint, remember Ben Harbor. My cousin, Marcus Muhammad, is the mayor of Ben Harbor. It was interesting. He asked for a tax increase. And the tax increase didn't say nothing about them pipes. It's for fixing roads and shit. It's interesting. Do you use filters? Filters on my shower head? I do use filters on my shower head, if that's what you mean. I drink, like, I buy water, and then I treat my water with this Sugarite. I rotate Sugarite. Full moon is coming, the 19th? And so usually I'll have one bottle. Matter of fact, my Sugarite bottle is in my backpack, my pickleball backpack. So, and this is how, like, I keep all my water I drink in the Sugarite for 24 hours. And as I said before, you want the Sugarite that you can see that has the pyrite and the quartz in it. You want pyrites and quartz in it. See some of the big pieces here. It's too little to show on camera. There's a little piece of pyrite. But that's the thing, is pyrite and quartz. So I got a guy, I get it from out of Russia. And I've been treating my water for the past 5 years, like even in this cup. I don't think I can show it. Put my nasty hand on it, but I have a piece of both. I have a piece of Royal Sugarite, and I have a piece of this I just showed you. So actually, I treat it in the big jar, and then I pour it in here, and I have double treated. So, and I've done this for 5 years. So, oh, okay, on the shower and sink for brushing your teeth. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Actually, what I do too is I have one of these in my bathroom, and I'll put water in it to brush my teeth. But for my son, yeah, we got the filter on it for my son. Yep. Thank you. This is, both of them are raw Sugarite. There's two type of grades you see for water filter. You can get it finer. You can use the Royal, but you can also use, this would be where they wouldn't polish it. And again, the thing you look at is how much quartz is in it and how much pyrite, because PJ, the quartz and the pyrite are the things that's really going to filter your water for you. Yeah. So yeah, raw Sugarite. Yeah. And this is very cheap. Things are moving well. Things are still moving kind of slow. So, but yeah, you can use, and that's what in Russia. Like, you know how we use charcoal in America to filter. Like if you got a refrigerator filter, you get like a new charcoal filter. They use Sugarite instead of charcoal. We use charcoal. They use Sugarite. They've had rooms full of it. Healing rooms. Because you can get like tiles, Sugarite, and that would be like, if it's anything that I dream of, is love to have a room where I could just get it done in Sugarite, because it's proven that they have like halls of this, just healing halls. This stuff is pretty rare now, but there's pads you can get where you can lay on like this pad, and it's made of Sugarite, and it's a healing pad. So, but I've dealt with this for 5 years, and I've gotten hurt, but Haven't really got sick. Haven't really got sick. I've gotten hurt. Gotten hurt, but not sick. So maybe getting sick is a little better than getting hurt, but I've gotten hurt. But well, I know I was gonna stop, so I'm gonna stop now though. So thank you everyone, and truly I appreciate it. And for the ones that encourage me, thank you. I appreciate it. Hospital in Russia, I believe, with crystals in them. I heard the hospitals in Russia, I believe, with crystals in them. Yeah, Russia probably has it too in the hospitals, has sugarite in the hospitals. I mean, Russia has been dealing with sugarite since Peter the Great. Peter the Great, what they found out was Peter the Great found out a lot of his soldiers, when they was getting hurt, they would go to this certain area. In the certain area, they was finding this stuff. And so Peter the Great was the first to build houses out of this stuff. So right where they found the first loads of this stuff, he built a couple houses out of this stuff. And I mean the inside. And they found out to be amazingly healthy, amazingly healing. And so it also protection from all these waves and Wi-Fi, because I have, I think Form Runner also talked about, I keep this is a big, now this one you can see the quartzite and you can see the pyrite a little better, but this is my cube, and I keep, like, if you have salt lamps, this will make your salt lamps double in what the salt lamp does. I keep sugarite near all my salt lamps, and like here in my dining room and in my living room, I've got a salt lamp in each room. I have 3 salt lamps. I have one in my bedroom too, but I have sugarite near all of them because sugarite amplifies. But sugarite near your cable boxes, it helps some of this fog that's around you. I mean, there's a lot of fog around you. Sugarite helps take away some of that fog. I take a piece of sugarite with me all the time. I rarely don't have some sugarite with me. I always generally have some. So, well, thank you. Definitely till we meet again. Thank you.